Join our incredible moms who have mastered the art of balancing motherhood in today's episode of We Time Convo.
My name is Debbie.
This is Liza.
Moms sharing inspiring stories, practical tips, and a few hilarious anecdotes. And it all begins now.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for We Time Convo. I am Lana, a special guest
co-host. And this is Liza. And we have two repeat guests on here. One of them is, as you know, Nathalie. She's the queen of college and career, vocational, everything. Nathalie, say hello.
Hi, everyone.
And we have our mom friend here, Sammie.
Hi, everyone.
So today's topic, we are going to talk about Sammie's journey from filing bankruptcy to having an over 800 credit score.
Yes, It is a journey for sure.
Yeah. And it takes a lot. Thank you so much for coming on to the show to talk about your experience because it's a sensitive subject, right? So thank you so much for coming on. So I just wanted to, of course, start off with some bankruptcy stats because it is a thing. And I think where we live, especially, it's so expensive and it's hard to even just live in the Bay Area. So bankruptcy filings dropped during the pandemic as federal aid helped people pay their bills, which I guess was a good thing.
Oh, yeah.
So, however, as the aid had ended, bankruptcy increased. In January of 2023, bankruptcy filings increased by 19% compared to January of the previous year. In February 2023, total filings increased 18% compared to February 2022. All stats according to, is it EPIG? Bankruptcy, the leading provider of U.S. bankruptcy data.
So our sources are debt.org.
Chapter 11 is a business bankruptcy. Chapter 7 and chapters 13 are personal. In chapter 7, non-essential assets are sold, not including your house, and the money raised is used to discharge debts. In Chapter 13, a 3 to 5 year payment plan to pay down debt is agreed to with the court. Yeah, I had heard of those.
Yeah, I didn't know there's different kinds of.
I didn't either. I thought it was just Chapter 7.
Just bankruptcy.
Yeah, I thought it was just Chapter 7.
I knew about Chapter 13.
So this is interesting. So this is states with high numbers of bankruptcy. According to Statista, the state with the most bankruptcies in 2022 was California, of course, with 31,702. It's good to maintain perspective, though. In 2011, California had more than 240,000 filings. So the number has dropped significantly. Oh. That's interesting. I would think that it would be higher, but maybe everyone's moving out.
That is true.
Yeah, everyone's
hopefully before they have to file. Meaning they move out on time to not have to file. Yeah.
But also, there's a lot of people in California, so it makes sense for our filings to be a lot more, right? At the other end of the spectrum, Alaska had the fewest filings with 182, Vermont second lowest with 207. That's really low.
Really low.
Vermont?
Yeah. Vermont.
Why?
It's a really small state.
Yeah, that's true.
But Alaska, 182, that's really low.
There's nobody in Alaska.
What are they filing bankruptcy for?
They're just fishing over there.
They didn't get their fish in time?
Sorry, I couldn't get my trout in time.
I know.
So that's it for the stats. They're very interesting. So if you want to read more, debt.org. So Sammie, let's just start with your story. We've been friends for so long, for more than 10 years?
A decade, over a decade, right?
I didn't know that you were in this rut. I want to hear your story.
Well, like you mentioned, right? It's a super sensitive topic. We don't talk about it. And I decided recently that it's okay to talk about it because there is people out there that possibly might have been in my same shoes 10 plus years ago, right? And the fact that when you're in that moment, you really are in this black hole because you feel like you are alone. You feel like I'm the only one dealing with this. My friends aren't dealing with this. But, little did I know, there was people that were dealing with it too. So in hindsight, I look back and I'm it's okay to tell your true story because there is hopefully, if I can share my story, that it's very possible to kind of rebuild yourself. I'm hoping if I can make a difference in one person, that's all I really need. So
There's always a light at the end of the tunnel.
always,
Right.
but at
Yeah.
that moment, you definitely feel like that light is so far away.
Yeah.
And you don't think about it,
Yeah.
right? You think like you hear that verbiage all the time, like there's light at the end of the tunnel. But when you're in that moment, you're like, that light is so dim and so far. Like, how do you get out of it?
Especially if you're alone and you don't really want to tell anybody, you know, and you don't want to ask for help. So Sammie, my question is, how did this decision come to fruition? Like, what made you sit down and say, I need to file bankruptcy?
I couldn't afford anything anymore. You know, both my husband and I did it, you know, we were in real estate back in the early 2000s. So it is one of the most lucrative career ever. And if I would, you know, to go back, that would be one thing I would totally do again. You know, I definitely have a passion for helping people. But I think during the time in like the 2005-6 range, you know, that whole housing market crash, both my husband and I were both in the real estate market. And we could only live off our savings for so long.
Yeah.
You know, and we had homes where we helped, you know, my mom buy and help pay their mortgage. And it just got to a point where you're like, man, I have more debts and I can't keep all these houses. So we decided, you know what, I think it's time to file bankruptcy. It was not an easy decision. And we ended up filing bankruptcy. And immediately after, you're like, okay, what do I do now? So that's one of the things that I learned through that journey. It's like, you have to rebuild again. You know, so like, how do you rebuild? And the fortunate thing was that I was in the mortgage finance industry. So I know exactly what's needed to build your credit. So that really helped me, even though the whole real estate career caused me to file bankruptcy. But the knowledge that I took away from that job experience has been like priceless. Because I wouldn't be able to build if it wasn't because of that career. Yeah.
So looking back on, you know, that whole process, all the debt that you accrued, do you think you took on too much at the time, or it was just a thing where everybody was just doing it?
No, absolutely. And it's because, you know, when I was growing up, our parents, you know, they worked to provide housing for us and food on the table, but it was never a dream to like, how do I own a home? So growing up as a kid, I want to own a home. This is my American dream, right? And my parents worked so hard. And that was one thing that I wanted to do. And fresh out of college, it was during .com. So now I graduated with a business degree in tech and, you know, computer information system.
Natalie's from the tech world.
Yeah. Nobody was hiring during that time.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm not going to change my degree or my degree after, you know, all of the, you know, 3.5 years of schooling and having to change your degree within 6 months before graduation. I was like, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
So I pursued and I graduated with that degree and I couldn't find a job. And then I got into real estate because I was like, oh, I'm going to get my real estate license because I want to learn how to buy my own house. And that kind of snowballed. I met a real estate broker and I'm like, hey, I kind of like finance better than selling a property. So then I got into finance and all of that. Yeah, that's, you know, kind of how it all, you know, started. And I think being in real estate industry and everybody's buying, your colleagues buying, you find deals all the time. You're always constantly, you know, that was your business, right? You help people buy and you're going to want to buy. And I remember sitting down with the client, trying to advise them on their loan. And I don't know anything, you know, and being around the peers that I was with, it was just a thing to do. I'm going to buy houses.
I mean, it's kind of like if you work at Target, right? If you work at Target, you get a discount. I'm going to buy everything at Target. And that's where all my money's going to, right?
Yeah. So
and it's like you get the first, like, you get to see all the houses first, right? And you get to see the discounts. You get to see this and that. Yeah, you get first dibs. So, no, I get it.
Yeah. I never thought, the value's going to go down. I was in my early 20s.
Yeah.
I was not that smart. Early 20s, you know, and thinking I can just buy properties, rent it out. And we did.
Yeah.
It didn't cover all the mortgage, but it's like, it's not a big deal. It's going to appreciate, right? So you learn really quick. And I think that, I mean, now I could talk about it because I was in my mid 20s when that all went down. And I can say, you know what? I'm kind of glad it happened sooner than later in life.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know if I would have been able to pick back up now in my mid 40s.
Right.
Yeah.
How I can do it all over again.
And you may have also invested more of savings that you would have built, and you might have lost more.
Absolutely.
In the end.
So I try to look back now, and I think, Liza, to answer your first question, like, how can I like talk about it now? right? And I think it's because in hindsight, I'm looking back, like, there was a lot that went down, but it's okay to talk about it now.
Yeah. So it wasn't more, it was more of like housing debt, like being able to pay, all the houses that you purchased and rented out rather than like credit card debt, or was it just a mixture of both?
It was a mixture of both by the time we filed bankruptcy, because obviously we had to use our credit card to try to maintain, thinking that we're going to get out of it. We were fortunate to be able to sell our primary home and get out of it before we lost that one. But we lost everything else. We had 5 properties in my early 20s.
Oh my gosh.
And I just lost it all. And can you imagine looking back at it now, thinking it was very depressing.
I'm sure.
Oh, I bet.
The emotional effects must have been devastating.
And had 2 kids. I just had Kehlani at that time. So it was very depressing. And like my family couldn't help us, and Bunley's family, it's, they're all business owners. Like, there's no way, we can go to them and ask them for a lending hand. So it was really rough when we had my daughter. But I think having the kids is what I think pushed us to keep moving forward.
With any investment, you have to take a risk. I'm not a risk taker. I'm just like, I don't know if I should do that. Like, but
I'm more careful now.
Yeah, but no, good for you for doing that, because then you wouldn't have learned from it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So filing bankruptcy, what were the steps? Like, how does that even work?
I went to an attorney and he filed everything. We listed all our debts and we went to court and it was just done. And
then how was your credit? Like, how did that affect your credit?
Oh, it was horrible.
For how long?
Horrible. Oh, well, what I did immediately was I opened up a secured credit card. So that is the trick. It's like you can't, like, a lot of people file bankruptcy and say, I'm never going to be in debt again because I don't want to go through that again. Right. But that's not the key. The key thing is you have to rebuild, and to rebuild, you'll get a secured credit card. So that's kind of what we did first. We got a secured credit card and then slowly build our credit based on that. And then, later on, credit cards starting sending us, like pre-approvals, high interest rate, but we took it, but we took it so we can build credit. Because we know at the end of the day, credit is huge.
Yeah.
You need leverage, right?
Can you talk about what is a secured credit card?
So you go to the bank, like whether you Bank of America, Chase, Wells Fargo, and let them know that you want to apply for a secured credit card. And what that is let's say you put $1,000 into it, that's going to be your credit limit. So they have that $1,000.
So you're not borrowing money from somebody. It's your own money.
It's your own money.
Got it.
Yeah.
And you have to show them, like, I can pay it back. I'm financially responsible.
Yep. They have nothing to lose, right? Because you're the one that gave them that $1,000 and they gave you $1,000 credit card limit.
Not know that.
But that builds your credit history.
So, So we're actually, so Nathalie actually has an interesting story about, because there is a difference between a credit score and a credit history, which I didn't know. So Nathalie's daughter had an experience with her.
We had an interesting experience. And we knew about the secured credit card, so that was gonna be our backup solution, but she was trying. So she, while she was a high school student and a college student, she was added to our own credit cards, like her 2 sisters. And so was that they're building their credit score.
Yep.
And so they pretty much have the same credit score as we do. And we're 2 professional with years of credit history. So we're also in the 800s. And so when then she graduated from college, and that's where our mistake was, which we're not going to do with the other 2. She graduated from college. She got her first job. And then she kept on getting all those offers for credit cards. So she realized she was going to travel quite a bit for work with one of the airlines. So she replied to that offer she got from that airline company. And we were thinking, she had an 800 plus credit score. She got a pre-approved letter. So it's going to be, so easy, right? And then the first one was denied. And it was in between, like she had just started working, or it was a week before she started her job. So we thought, okay, maybe, because she hasn't started the job, that's why she got rejected. So she then started working for a month and then reapplied to another one and got denied again. And that happened 3 times. And the problem is your credit score then goes down every time you apply.
Absolutely.
And when they pull your
get
credit,
denied. Then she started having issue with she found a place to stay. And then the landlady was trying to pull something and she kept on being rejected again. So finally, the landlady accepted the offer of employment letter. So she sent her contract, and then the lady said, okay, I'll do with that. But she said that every time I try to pull your credit, you're being denied. And so we finally reached out to a mortgage specialist that we work with. And I'm like, dude, what's going on? I mean, really, it makes no sense. And he said, oh, she was always on your credit. So yes, she has a high credit score, but she doesn't have credit history. And then if they pull it based on the fact that she's with you, she's pulling all your debt every time on a very limited income. Our huge debt is showing on her limited income. So she looks like her debt to income ratio is not strong enough. So he explained to us, so what we could have done at that time, if she had needed a credit card, she would have done the secured credit card, right? That's what she was planning to do, but didn't get to go to a bank on time. So she was going to do that. But he explained for the younger daughters, what we have to do is when you're a student, it's actually much easier to get small credit cards. Discover are the best because they have zero interest while you're a student and so on. They do that so the student, buy and then anyway, they still make money, right? So anyway, so he explained you have to open 2 credit cards while they're students because those are going to be easy to get. They're going to be $500, maybe $1,000, not much. You use them a little bit. You make regular payment. You try not to pay them off. You carry a little bit. That's what he said.
That's
you agree?
true.
Okay. So you carry a little bit. All that, actually carrying a little bit of debt increases your credit score and your credit history.
Okay.
So he explained to us, we're going to do that for the other 2.
Yeah, because they want to see history. Like
Exactly.
you mentioned, Liza, right? Credit history. They want to see consistency. They want to be history. They want to see history.
Exactly.
And the fact that you only work for a month, it's like doesn't show financial stability yet.
Exactly.
And then you don't have the history. And then you do want to owe like maybe 30-40% of your limit. You never want to max out. That's going to bring your credit score down.
Yeah.
But no, he's absolutely right. You want to. And I do have my kids on my credit card as an authorized user. But it's not a credit card that I accrue debt in. The fact that if I have bankruptcy, I don't have credit card debts now, but I use it. One, I use it for points.
Yeah, that's what
I'll
we
pay
use it.
I'll pay it weekly. So that's another trick that I do.
Yes.
To avoid interest?
Not to avoid interest, but
it's like a trick.
It's a trick because at the end of the month.
What's the trick?
So let's say your minimum payment's $100. I'm going to make an easy number, right? And the reason why I pay weekly is because at the end of the month, the creditors will report to their credit bureaus how many payments you made. And the more positive payments you make, the better your scoring is going to be.
Yeah.
So instead of reporting 1 payment, they're going to report 4 payments that month. So that increased your credit score pretty quickly.
This is stuff that I had no idea. And you didn't either until
I did not. And so then she found a house. She wanted to buy it. That was 6 months later. She had still not done the secured credit card, which she knew she was supposed to do, but didn't get a chance. Then she's like, I want to buy that house. So she found a wonderful mortgage broker that helped her find other ways. So she has been able to buy a house. She's not in California because she could never.
She's in Tennessee.
So,
I love Tennessee.
So she's been able because the mortgage broker helped her, but he said the same. He said, okay, once we close that and you've paid a couple of months of your mortgage payments, please do open a credit card. You need to build a history for those easy things because as long as she has attached to us, every time it reports our debt on her account.
Yeah,
that makes
she's on the
sense.
same
Yeah, so what we did,
card is
so we couldn't take her off because then she would have been completely off. So instead, I paid daily. Our credit card that she was on daily, so that they showed a bunch of payments and they showed zero balance towards her. So she was showing no more debt. Yeah, so it's really tricky. I learned so much in that 1 month.
And you don't want to close your credit cards.
No,
because
never.
it
lowers your credit score too
part
to
of
close
your
them.
credit score is right on the amount of how long you've had
time.
history.
Yeah.
Like if you started 18, let's say you had a credit card until you're like 28, you don't want to close that because if you close it, it's going to shorten your length of history. It's going to say 0 versus 10 years.
That's the one thing I regret. Like I closed because during college, back then they had booths with free stuff. I'm like, I'm 18 now. Let me just sign up for this free shirt I don't need. But I signed up for all these things. things. And I had a Macy's credit card since I was 18, but I closed it like in my 30s. I mean, I have other credit history, but I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
Right. But
that's
I'm learning.
What he told us. Yeah. He told us you open those two when you're a student, you open two, and one you keep all your life.
Yeah. And you use it every once in a while.
Yeah.
Like even $20,
gas or something.
Starbucks gas.
Yes, you have to use it. So that's what I've learned. And I'm learning from both of you because I did put my son on one of my credit cards, maybe two of them. But now that I'm thinking about it, when he turns 18, he should start opening his own credit card, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then you keep him on yours so that he builds both.
Got it.
Score. But if he wants to, once he graduates from college, that's when you want to consider taking him off if he's built his own credit independently in the meantime.
That's a good idea. Okay.
Does that benefit you too? If he's under yours? Or no, not really.
Just the points. So I get the points for what she purchased.
So it doesn't like affect your credit score if he doesn't like pay.
If anybody that affects my credit score is my husband. He's a liability.
You get the bill. It's they're just an authorized user on your credit.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And he uses it and I'll pay it off. But I try to pay a couple times a month, but I always forget. So I always pay like once a month. But it's fine. Yeah.
So Sammie, how long did it take you to like finally, so you did the secure credit card thing. Is that the only thing that you did to help build your credit?
That's the first thing I did was to build my credit. And obviously, besides credit card, right, getting a car loan is very important. Some type of an installment loan is important. Obviously, we couldn't get a car loan. I had a friend, co-sign a car for me and have me added on. So using that car loan that someone else co-signed with me helped me again build a, more of a installment loan, because you can't just have only a credit card, not even one credit card. You got to have a variety of type of loans and credits on your history.
Yeah.
So like a car loan, as much as you don't want to, be in debt, but that's another type of loan. So slowly, it took a few years to, obviously it took a long time to get to 800, but it doesn't take very long to get over 700. I think it's just a few years of just consistently doing that and being able to have different types of debts. I mean, it's the goal of after bankruptcy is can you manage debt after that? Right? I mean, that's kind of what you have to look at, and like, how can I manage debt without being in debt again and having to file bankruptcy again? So we obviously were very, very cautious after the fact. Like we obviously, like a lot of folks, we did not want to get in debt on anything, but we learned we need to build our credit scores again. Yeah. Because we know the buying power. the borrowing power of having a good credit score, so it did take a long time. But now that, we're over 800, thank goodness, it's so much easier to, borrow money when and if you need it.
But the thing is, like, our parents didn't teach us any of this.
No.
We all had to learn it on our own.
I didn't learn it until I was in debt. So
I mean, I was in debt in college because I was shopping, right? But like, my parents didn't teach me like credit scores important, things like that. I did end up co-signing for one of my friends for him to buy a car because my credit score was so good. But these are the things that we're teaching our kids now.
Absolutely.
Like, you don't realize it, but credit score is really important, and your credit history, right?
Yeah. Well, where we work, we have adulting classes. So these are classes that the seniors have to take before they can graduate.
Oh, that's amazing.
I think one of them includes finance, right?
Yeah, we're doing finance and
doing
that's
laundry.
Amazing.
Like,
it's like a life skill.
Yeah.
Right? Life skill type of class.
Yeah. And I feel like they should incorporate this like in all schools. I don't know if all schools do it, but they didn't have it when I went to high school.
No, we didn't learn it either in school.
I mean, we had like typing and home ec, but nothing like that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I had a class in high school, like you learn how to balance your checkbook, but
I didn't even have that.
I don't even know how to balance a checkbook now.
Who has a checkbook?
I don't know. It's all in my head.
Tammy does.
Tammy does. Tammy.
Natalie, do you still write checks?
I don't.
I'll have to write a check every once in a blue moon.
But even like, I think that's also something like, because checks are still a thing, right? Students would need to learn how to write a check, right? Just at least
No, they don't.
No,
Yeah,
they don't even know how to write cursive anymore.
Oh, no, they don't.
or tell time, like tell time, like on the, It's crazy.
Every time during the AP exams, can we get a digital clock? I'm like, no, you learn that in kindergarten. You can read that clock.
There was a student yesterday didn't even know what a postcard was.
Oh,
and
no.
I said, oh my gosh.
Well, so I do the work permits at school, right? And I tell them they have to write the date. And I'm like, it's May 17. And they're like, how do I write that? Like,
what?
And I'm like, January, February. And they're like, whoa, that's how you do it?
Oh my God.
No, they don't teach them that in high school, how to like write 5/17.
Yeah.
A lot of them write just May 17.
Yeah. The AP exams. And I was like, why is he asking me how to write the date?
So, I mean, things like that still are a thing.
Yeah.
Like old school things like that.
Yeah.
I mean, we still use it. We still write 5/17. Students don't know that. We still have analog clocks. You need to learn how to read that. We still in order to have a signature, you need to learn how to do cursive.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and students, it's not a thing anymore.
No, they don't teach that stuff.
I'm like, just write your name.
Yeah.
There's one thing I've always wanted the schools to teach is finances.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's so important.
Yeah.
But I feel like the world wants us to be in debt.
I mean, it keeps the companies growing. They make money off of it. It's a
business.
It's a business.
And that's kind of where we as parents have to come in.
Yes.
You know, because you're right, they don't teach it, right? And they're teaching us to be in debt. All these perks, all these points, it's very tempting. But if you don't know how to balance it, you can easily rack up debt super fast. Like I said, I've been there, you know, so I totally understand how easy it is. And it's easier, right? With a better credit score, you're offered credit cards all the time. You know, but now I'm smarter. I will only apply for a new one if I'm taking a big trip. Like we did last year, we, took a big trip to Asia. Yeah. And so, yes, I applied for a brand new credit card because they gave a lot of points for promotion. Yeah. So I did, for those type of expenses.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you want the security, in case, something happens, you want to have the option, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, Sammie, where are you at now? Like in your debt journey? Like, are you happy where you're at now?
Yes, I'm definitely.
Do you still have debt? Like, how do you manage that now?
No, now I'm more like, depending on the type of debt, like if it's good debt, what I mean by that is like a home debt to me is a great debt, right? So you can write off the interest, you live in it, there's appreciation, there's long term, right? But bad debts would be like a car, if the rates are super high. Like I tell my kids, if you can't afford to buy it, try not to, because the rates are super high right now for car loans or credit card debt.
Or even for homes, right?
Homes are high too, but at least to me, I see that as a good debt, because it has some benefits. So you get to write up the interest, right? And you live in it, it's your home. But like car or credit cards, like don't buy, let's say, don't charge a meal because you want to go eat out and then now you're not paying it off until 2 months later. Well, now you've got interest on that meal you just ate,
What type of meal are they going to?
My kids are pretty good because I don't allow them to do that. But what I'm saying is like, it's so easy to charge.
It is.
100%.
It's so easy to swipe. And then by the time you look, you're like, wait, what? So we try not to. So my strategy is I do not use my ATM card. I use my credit card for every charge I do. But I immediately go home and I pay it.
Yeah.
So I treat it like an ATM card.
I do too, because the ATM card, it's so in high risk to get.
Also,
right?
to get your number swiped or something.
Yeah.
So,
you can get
That's right.
the fraud, everything.
Yeah.
So I tell Dylan, do not use your ATM card. Just use my card and we'll pay it off, right?
Yeah.
But it's like a high risk of fraud.
Yeah. So I use my credit card because again, it's points. Risk is a good one, but that's kind of, my trick now is I do get in debt, meaning I'll swipe it, pay it just so we can continue, building our credit score. Right. But to get in debt, I try not to anymore. It was not easy. Like you mentioned, light at the end of the tunnel. It's just, it seems so far, but then the minute that you're kind of a little bit above ground, you feel like, okay, I can kind of breathe and okay, this is going to get easier. And it took a long time. I mean, I still got a long ways to go and other things I want to do in life, but to look back, 10 plus years ago, I'm happy. I'm content to where I am now compared to prior to all that. I mean, life was even greater, right? You've got no kids. We were able to pick up, do whatever we wanted. Didn't have to look at prices. That was my biggest mistake being in my early 20s because both my husband and I made really good money selling real estate. It was just so easy. Like,
Yeah.
you know, easy money coming in, and we didn't think about that, and we didn't learn about that. You know, we didn't learn about money being, you know, when we were younger. So we learned as an adult, and now I'm so strict on my kids. I think a little bit too strict because I don't want them to experience what I went through.
Yeah.
Nobody does.
And have you shared this journey with them?
Oh, my kids know exactly what we went through.
That's good.
And they should know.
Yeah. I think it's like they can learn from that too.
Yeah,
right?
I'm hoping that's the goal now, is maybe one day I'll continue speaking about this journey and be able to help others, because there is definitely light, and it seems far, but once you reach it, you're like, oh, it wasn't that bad.
No, there's definitely a need for education, and with your background in mortgage sales also, you can
100%.
absolutely be very,
Like I said, I don't need to make a difference to the world, just one person.
Yeah, just one person.
You know, it's all I need.
Well,
and that's why I decided to.
I can tell you now, I've maybe like, I want to say 5-6 years ago, and you guys know this story.
Yes, I know.
I put myself in massive debt. Like, I have a bad shopping addiction. I'm not gonna lie. It wasn't anything like I didn't purchase a home or anything. I just dug myself in a really, really big hole. I would use all my credit cards, and then I would pay it off, and then I would use it again, and it was bad. It was really bad. I actually thought about filing bankruptcy, because every month I was making minimum payments. It wasn't, my payments weren't moving down because it was all interest rate. Like, I just was like very, very depressed. And I sat down and I said, look, I cannot live like this anymore. There's things that I need to change. So, I mean, I stopped eating out. Like, I stopped going out with you guys for a little bit, because like I needed to
quite
stay.
a while.
Yeah, and you guys are like my bougie friends. Like, you know, like I can't be eating out like $100 every week. I can't go to Italy next week. Like, I cannot do that. So I had to like stop that. But you guys understood. And I told you, I said, hey, this is what's happening in my life. I need to pay off my debt. I cooked at home. Like, I used everything in my fridge. Like, I did everything. Like, and I had to tell my kids too. Like, it was really sad because it was my issue, not them. But, you know, they wanted to like go to Disneyland, and I'm like, I can't, like, I really need to pay off my debt.
Yeah.
For like 2 years, I was really good. I paid off my debt. I'm like financially stable. And I mean, it took 2 years of really just being like, it was depressing. I couldn't go out. I couldn't do anything. But I'm so happy that I did it. And it's just so much weight lifted off my shoulders that I just don't have that debt anymore. Because like you said, like, you feel like you're in a dark place. Like, I don't want to tell anybody that like I'm struggling. Like, you don't want that. Like, you don't want to tell anybody. So yeah. So, I mean, thank you, Sammie, for sharing your story. It's just very inspiring, and it will help so many people.
I think so.
It's just, it's hard. Like, yes, if you own up to it and say, hey, like, I had a shopping addiction. I bought so many houses. Yeah. It's up to you to want to fix that. Yeah. Right? Like, you have to have that drive to like fix it.
Yeah, no,
or you find somebody to fix it for you.
Or you find a very rich husband to pay that for you. But there's not very many, because I tried.
But no, I mean, like, when I first met my husband, I was like, oh, you spend quite a bit of money, right? And so my friend was in like the loan department, and I was like, run his credit score. And then my friend was like, I don't know if this is legal. I said, he gave me his social, so it's legal. So he ran my husband now's credit score, and my friend told me, do not co-sign anything for him. And so
that was legal. You didn't share details, but just don't take that.
So I told my husband, I said, at the time we were dating, I said, oh my gosh, your credit score? Oh no. And he was like, how do you know? I said, my friend ran it. He didn't care about it. But then when we got together and over time, I had to help him fix his credit score. Now, sometimes his credit score is higher than mine. And I said, what? I helped you.
Oh my God.
But you know, those are the things you learn.
So, okay. So this is one thing that I'm thinking about, like just dating out there. Like if I ever consider marriage, like, is talking about what their debt is and my debt, like if he has debt, is that something important to talk about?
That is a requirement.
Absolutely.
Because
100%.
once you get married, it's your debt, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a very uncomfortable topic, but I'd rather you be uncomfortable before
than getting married.
Yeah.
Yes.
So should I just rack up?
You're just not meant.
Should I just rack up a bunch of debt and like get with someone?
I'm just
just make sure that they're not going to ask?
No.
Oh, okay. I'm just making sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's a conversation that you have to have.
Yeah. Okay. Good advice.
I mean, you asked me, 20 years ago, I would have probably said, no, you don't need to, but it's different now.
So with your husbands, did you know prior to getting married if they had debt? Okay. Did you?
Well, I was young, right? So
Yeah.
Bunley didn't even have a bank account or a credit card. So he was all cash your check Friday, spend it by Monday, so that was his style. So I didn't have to worry about that. He actually helped me with my debts during college, because we met, we dated during college, and he actually helped pay off my car and my credit card. So I didn't have to worry about that with him because we were super young. But now, he just thinks I can charge whatever he wants because I paid, I'm the one that makes the payments every week. So he doesn't really keep track, which can get out of hand. I'm like, you need to stop using these cards.
Lana obviously didn't know because she had to ask somebody else to look into it.
Yes, I had to ask somebody else.
All right. Thank you guys so much for coming on, Nathalie, Sammie, for sharing your story. Thank you so much. And hopefully it will help tons of people.
Yes.
And Lana, again, thank you for co-hosting with me.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys for listening.